I sat quietly at my graduation party, swirling soda in a plastic cup while my twin brother, Ethan, soaked up the spotlight that didn't belong to him. We were gathered on the rooftop terrace of my aunt's downtown Atlanta condo, strung with fairy lights and ivy. The celebration was supposed to mark the end of my MBA program at Emory, but somehow, it had turned into a celebration of Ethan's new job. Senior Strategy Lead at Arden Tech. My mother beamed, topping off everyone's drinks. Our Ethan, heading into tech leadership already, can you believe it? I said nothing, just that morning I'd reviewed the finalized hiring records as the new Chief Strategy Officer at Arden Tech. I'd seen Ethan's embellished resume. I'd also seen who had signed off on his employment offer. Delaney, my father said, nudging me with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Maybe Ethan can pull a few strings for you. I'm sure they have something junior, something entry level to get you going. How generous. I actually already have something lined up, I said evenly. He raised a skeptical brow. Where? Before I could answer, Ethan jumped in, his tone light but laced with condescension. Dell's just doing some freelance work for now, trying to figure things out. Our relatives all nodded like they'd just heard a tragic diagnosis. Poor Delaney, always the quieter twin. Never quite as ambitious, never quite as accomplished. If only they knew. Opened my mouth, but my mother chimed in again. Ethan, honey, tell everyone about the company laptop they sent. And your salary. What was it again? Ethan smirked. Base of $160.00 plus equity and perks. I'm basically running the team. I nearly laughed. He was hired as a junior analyst at $85.00 with no team under him. And your office? Aunt Janelle asked, eyes shining. Huge corner office, Ethan replied without missing a beat. Starts Monday. I glanced at my phone. In exactly 48 hours, Ethan would walk into Arden Tech and meet his real boss. Me. My mother turned to me with a gentle smile that felt more like a warning. Maybe you could tag along Monday? Shadow Ethan? See what the real world looks like? Oh, I said with a smile of my own. I'll absolutely be there on Monday. And I'd be the one holding the key card to his floor. Wouldn't miss it for the world, I said. The party rolled on, more distant relatives clinking glasses with Ethan, offering him congratulatory toasts and offering me condolences veiled as pep talks. Your time will come, one said, with a sympathetic pat on my back. Not everyone can be an executive right out the gate, added another, as if I hadn't just finished my MBA at the top of my class. I excused myself to the kitchen, needing a moment away from the sugar-coated condescension. The open window above the sink let in the warm breeze, and the voices of my dad and Uncle Martin outside on the balcony. At least one of them made something of himself, Dad said, as if I weren't 10 feet away. Delaney's always been cautious. Too careful to take real risks, he went on. Never quite pushed herself hard enough. I stared at the faucet, jaw tight. Too cautious? I thought about the risks I took at 22 when I sold my car, broke my lease, and poured every cent I had into rescuing a bankrupt analytics firm. About the nights I worked until sunrise, living off protein bars and black coffee, while turning that company into the multi-billion-dollar titan Arden Tech is today. He even always knew what he wanted, Uncle Martin replied. Born leader, that kid. And Delaney just followed. My grip on the counter tightened. I remembered the science fair project he stole credit for. The college essay I helped revise that won him a scholarship, the summer internship I got him, by pretending I didn't know he badmouthed me in the interview process. Delaney? I turned. My cousin Maya stood in the doorway, empty plate in hand and concern in her eyes. You okay? Just needed a breather, I smiled. She lingered. You know, I applied to Arden last year. Strategy department. Got a rejection in 48 hours. I've got 12 years of consulting experience and an MBA from NYU. I raised an eyebrow. Interesting. Yeah, she said, confused. So how did Ethan? Very good question, I murmured. Just then, Ethan strutted into the kitchen, his designer loafers clicking across the tile. There you are, Dell. I was just telling them about my new team. 20 direct reports, can you believe it? I could, especially since his actual title was Junior Associate Strategist. Team of 3. Reporting to me. Quite the responsibility, I said calmly. Oh, I'm not worried, he smirked. Leadership comes naturally to me, unlike some people. He looked directly at me. I smiled. Monday's gonna be fun. Maya slipped out of the kitchen, leaving me alone with my twin. For siblings who once shared a womb, Ethan and I couldn't have turned out more different. While he stood there in a tailored linen blazer and polished loafers, I wore my usual, a sharp black pantsuit, clean, simple, intentional. He was loud. I listened. He cut corners. I built foundations. You know, Ethan leaned closer, lowering his voice as if offering charity. I could help you get a foot in the door at Arden. I raised an eyebrow. Maybe something like, my assistant? He grinned. Just like the old days. You backing me up, making me look good? Flooded with memories, I said nothing at first. The science fair project he stole, the group assignments in undergrad where I did all the work, the internships where my proposals got him the promotions, family gatherings where he told my stories like they were his. That's generous, I said evenly, folding my arms. But about your position. Oh, come on, Dell, he interrupted. No need to be jealous. He chuckled like it was all a joke. We can't all be executives. Some people are just better suited for support roles. I checked my phone. A new email had just landed from Arden Tech's HR. Final orientation list attached. There was Ethan's name, under Junior Strategy Coordinator. No team, no reports, and certainly not in the executive suite. You're right, I said, tucking my phone away. Monday will be enlightening. He frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Before I could answer, Mom's voice echoed from the terrace. Ethan, come quick. Your dad's making a toast. He straightened his jacket and strolled out with a wink. I stayed in the kitchen a moment longer, then reopened the HR file on my phone. Ethan's actual offer letter. $85.00 K. Reports to Lara Chen, who reports to a director, who reports to me. Back on the rooftop, the party was winding down. Dad tapped his glass for attention. To my twins, he began, locking eyes with Ethan, on their graduation day. He barely glanced at me. They may walk different paths, but today, we raise our glasses, especially to Ethan, for already securing an executive position at one of the top tech firms in the country. To success. To success, the crowd echoed. I sipped quietly. Monday arrived clear and sharp. From the corner office on the 42nd floor of Arden Tech HQ, I watched the Atlanta skyline stretched beyond the glass. My assistant knocked gently. Ms. Walker, your brother just arrived for orientation. I smiled and straightened the gold-etched nameplate on my desk. Delaney Walker, Chief Strategy Officer. Let's make sure he gets the full Arden welcome. Through the security feed on my screen, I watched Ethan stroll into the lobby of Arden Tech like he already owned the place. His suit probably cost more than his starting salary, and the smug grin on his face said it all. He was still riding high on his fantasy. Instead of joining the orientation group gathering near the West Wing, he made a beeline for the executive elevators. I'm sorry, sir, the security guard said, stepping in front of him. This elevator is for executive-level personnel only. Orientation for new hires is down the hall. There must be some mistake, Ethan laughed. I'm the new senior strategy lead. I have a meeting with the CSO this morning. The guard checked his tablet. I have an Ethan Walker listed for orientation, strategy division, entry-level coordinator. Ordinator? Ethan's smile faltered. That can't be right. I have my offer letter right here. He rummaged through his leather messenger bag and produced the letter he'd been flashing around at my graduation party. The guard took one look and made a call. Yes, I have someone here with a document that doesn't match HR records, possibly modified. I watched Ethan's face drop, color draining from his cheeks. Modified? No, this is what I received, he insisted. Just call the CSO. She'll clear it up. The CSO doesn't handle entry-level hiring, a new voice cut in. Is Sarah Mehta, our HR director, calm, precise, and holding the real offer letter in her hand. Mr. Walker, she said crisply, this is your official employment contract. Entry-level strategy coordinator, starting salary $58,000 0 cents. Reporting to team lead Marcus Hayes. Ethan blinked. No, that can't be. I was promised $160 0 cents K, a full team. A corner office? Falsifying offer letters is a serious violation, Sarah said, her voice firm but not unkind. However, since today is your first official day, and we believe this may have been a misunderstanding, we're willing to move forward. She gestured toward the waiting orientation group. Your cohort is right this way. I watched him follow her, stunned and silent toward the west wing. I turned from the monitor. Send in the morning reports, I told my assistant. Right on cue, my office phone rang. Delaney, Mom's voice crackled through the line. Something's wrong, Ethan just called in tears. There's been some huge mix-up at Arden. Can't you call someone there? Maybe talk to HR? I smiled faintly. How strange, I said, reaching for my coffee. I'll look into it. Surely, Mom, I said, voice calm. I can do better than that. Put Ethan on the phone. A moment later, his voice came through tight with panic and laced with bitterness. Delaney, you have to fix this. They're trying to humiliate me, some kind of mix-up or internal sabotage. I need you to come down and straighten this out. Come to the executive floor, I said evenly. Top level, corner office on the right. Just show your ID to security. Trust me. There was a pause. Wait. But I had already hung up. 20 minutes later, Ethan stepped into my office. His usual swagger was gone. His polished shoes didn't make a sound this time. He paused when he saw the view, the sweeping skyline of Atlanta, and then froze when his eyes landed on the plaque on my desk. Delaney Walker, Chief Strategy Officer. Via ground in 10 minutes. What is this? He stammered. I stood, smoothing my blazer. Welcome to Arden Tech, Ethan. I'm Delaney Walker, CISO, and Department Head for Corporate Strategy, including, yes, the strategy team you were just hired to join. He sank into the nearest chair like someone had pulled the floor out from beneath him. The same suit that looked impressive on Saturday now seemed like a costume under the glare of the morning light. How long? He whispered. 3 years, I said. Remember that consulting work I was doing after grad school? I was helping rebuild a dying analytics firm. Took some risks. Invested early. Helped grow it. Promoted. Last year. Why didn't you tell me? I let out a small laugh. Would you have believed me? You never asked. You were too busy telling everyone about yourself. I opened his file on my screen. Let's talk about this application. According to you, you've got 8 years of experience in strategic operations. While we were both in school? I can explain. Don't. I cut him off. Here's how this is going to go. You have 2 choices. Option 1, you walk away, and I make sure that the doctored offer letter disappears quietly, no damage to your reputation. His throat tightened. And option 2, you start as a strategy coordinator, entry level, no team. You work, you learn, you earn the title next time. You're serious? Dead serious, I said, walking toward the window. No more shortcuts, Ethan. No more taking credit for someone else's work. Just then, the door flew open. Our parents stormed in and stopped dead. Delaney? Dad's voice was stunned. What is this? I gestured around my office. This is what happens when you're too afraid to take risks. When you're always the cautious one, the follower. I paused. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. You mean you're the Chief Strategy Officer of Arden Tech? Yes, I said simply. Have been for a while now. Though no one ever really asked what I was doing all those years, I was, supposedly, figuring it out. Dad dropped into one of the visitor chairs, his face pale. But at the party, why didn't you say anything? I let you believe what you always believe. I replied quietly. That Ethan was the successful one, the leader, the golden twin. I looked directly at them. Even when he lied on his resume, exaggerated his roles, or took credit for my work, you never questioned it, because it fit the narrative you'd already written. Delaney, Mom began, voice trembling, we never meant. You constantly compare us, I cut in, to praise his every move and ignore mine, to assume he was going places while I was just tagging along? There was a long silence. Then Ethan stood. I'll take option 2, he said. All three of us turned to look at him. The entry-level job, he clarified. I'll take it. And this time, I'll earn it. I studied him for a moment. For once there was no arrogance in his posture, no bluff. Report to HR, I said. They'll walk you through proper orientation. After he left, our parents lingered, both looking strangely out of place in a room they never imagined I'd occupy. All those family dinners, Dad murmured. You always said work was going fine. Would you have believed me if I'd told the truth? I asked. Or would you have dismissed it, like every other time I achieved something Ethan hadn't? Mom wiped at her eyes. We were wrong. So wrong. Yes, I said, settling back into my chair. You were. Now, if you don't mind, I have a company to run. They rose and left quietly. In the months that followed, things began to shift. Ethan, stripped of his imagined superiority, proved surprisingly capable. He kept his head down, worked hard, asked questions. Slowly, he earned respect. Not for who he claimed to be, but for who he was becoming. Our parents stopped making constant comparisons. For the first time, they saw us as individuals, different paths, different strengths. 6 months later, I called Ethan into my office, again. He entered differently, shoulders steady, eyes direct. Your team lead says you're doing well, I said, reviewing the latest reports. Top performer in your group last quarter. He smiled. This time, it was real. I actually love the work, Ethan admitted, his voice calm. Really love it, not just the status I thought it would bring. I nodded. That's why I'm approving your promotion to Junior Strategy Manager. You earned this one, Ethan, for real. He smiled, not his old cocky grin, but something softer, grateful, real. Thank you, Delaney, not just for the promotion, but for stopping me from going further down that path, pretending, chasing titles, instead of meaning. Sometimes success isn't about being first or loudest, I said. Sometimes it's about being honest, doing the work, and moving forward the right way. As he left my office, I found myself thinking back to that graduation party 6 months ago, back when everything was a performance, when truth took a backseat to image. Now, everything was different. Sometimes the best revenge isn't public humiliation. It's giving someone the chance to discover their own truth. I picked up my phone to call Mom. There was still healing to do, but at least now we could start from honesty. I glanced out over the Atlanta skyline. The view from here? It's always better when you've earned it. If you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or told to stay in your lane, I hope my story shows you that quiet strength and hard work do speak for themselves. I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever been the underdog in your own family or career? Share your story in the comments. Let's remind each other that success doesn't have to shout, it just has to be earned. And here's my advice. Don't chase validation. Build value. Don't match energy. Set your own pace. The best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building something so real, no one can ignore it.